Okay, I want to give a quick overview of the turbo jigs. When I first started working on this project, the first thing I did was I created a very detailed three-dimensional model of a Pinewood Derby car in the computer and then used those measurements to transfer into the drill jig. As league racers, we know there's three key areas of alignment on a Pinewood Derby car, and that is the rear wheels, front to back, and side to side. And the turbo jigs address all three areas of alignment. And as far as I know, it's the only device on the market that does that. There are two versions, a standard size and an XL. And then there are two versions of each. There's a 4 bushing, which has 3 degrees on the rear, 0 degrees on the front, and then a 5 bushing version, which is 3 degrees on the rear, 0s on the front, but then also has another bushing that will drill steer into the car if one wants to use it that way. So moving on to the features, the first thing, the drill bushings that are in the jigs are hardened steel. They are 1.095 inches in length. And to that end, you have to be very mindful of how much stick out you have with your drill bit. So there is a reference mark right here. You stick your bit into one of the bushings until it lines up. Then you can mark your bit accordingly or chuck the drill straight on it so that you drill deep enough for your axles. There are reference lines on top of the jig for you to line up your marks so you get the holes where you want them to be. You can also mark the bottom of your car and then line them up from the bottom. I call these port holes, and there are reference lines in there to use as well. We know that front to back alignment is important. On the jigs, the front holes are set a specific amount above the rears so that when you have your axle bent to the proper amount, then the car is level front to back. And the way you know what the proper bend amount is using this gauge right here. So when you have your axle bent to the proper amount, it will fit in that gauge. Okay, so you can tweak your current bending method to work if you want to, or alternatively, I am selling axle bender, which will I will provide settings you can use to bend the axle to the proper amount, so you will have alignment front to back, or it will be level front to back. So the third area of alignment is side to side, and so the way you do that is you take the jig, set it on its side, and then you mark your body, and then that is the mount that you need to remove to have side-to-side alignment. If you're using washers, you can set the car body on top of the washers to shim them so it's up slightly and mark it that way. Alternatively, if you're using wheels that have, say, shorter inner hubs, then you could shim the jig, and so you can get it to work that way. For the XL version, you would mark it like this. Now, those are all the standard features of the turbo jigs. The XLs have 2 additional features, which I'll talk about now. This is the first feature exclusive to the Turbo Jig XL, and that is a side-to-side check or verification. What we do is we take our Turbo Jig XL, we crank these bolts out till they protrude out the back, and then if we take our car, put it up against the bolts, then the front wheel, if it touches the edge of the jig here, then that car is aligned. We see that it does. It's just barely rubbing the side. So we know that that car is aligned side to side. All right, this is the final feature that's exclusive to the Turbo Jig XL. It's a method to verify or check the front to back alignment, and we're going to manipulate this bolt right here to do so. So we're going to crank it out, and then we want to set the jig down on a flat surface. And then we'll take our car. This is one of my test cars. It's easier to see what's going on if it's not covered. And also I've taken the weight out of the way back so we can again see what's going on. But you take it, set it on the jig, and then you want to manipulate that bolt, turn it in and out until it just barely touches the bottom of the car between where the wheels ride. And so I don't know if you can tell or see, but it's just barely touching that. It's rubbing ever so slightly. Then once you get that set, turn it around and do the same with the front. And it is just barely touching right between where the wheels ride. So we know that car is level front to back.